Hi, my name is Susan Weimer, and I'm here with another card for Team Tuesdays for My Sweet Petunia. I'm on the design team, so it's my turn. It's my Tuesday. And we're going to be making this adorable card from using honeybeads, two honeybee sets. Anyhow, so I have a A2 piece of Nina, some white embossing powder, these life-changing blender brushes from my Picket Fence Studios, I'm sorry. And I have the Honeybee Mermaid Song set, which someone gifted me, and the Swirling Oceans. I just love that. Isn't that beautiful? And then we have the larger MISTI for this part that I selected to use because we're going to be making a background with that very large background stamp. So I'm just putting a little bit of adhesive down onto my MISTI mouse pad. In retrospect, one of the things I do is I pre-cut my paper. I do the cutting, but it's pre-cut so that when I'm working, I can just grab, or crafting. I mean, it's not working, but it's fun. I can just grab what I want. But I think I need to leave some pieces cut, not too many of them, to a longer size so that I can use the magnets. Because for me, the magnets are really super important as I have a tremor. So I've got my Versamark pad, and I inked it up twice because my Versamark pad is dry, or was. I fixed it. I got out the reinker. So I really wanted to make sure that all of the detail in this is that I captured it. So I'm going to apply some Hero Arts white embossing powder and just make sure I get all of the little nooks and crannies in the stamp. That's really pretty. And please ignore the lighting in this video. The day that I made it, it was thunderstorming and then sunny. And today, guess what? It's thunderstorming and sunny. And I supposedly live in the sunshine state, and it's been a couple days. So I am heat embossing this and really looking carefully to make sure I got all of the little pieces. So anyway, back to the thunder. If you hear thunder, I'm really sorry. Or frogs quacking. Yes, the frogs here in Florida quack. I don't know why. They're the little green tree frogs. But anyway, whenever it rains or thunders, they start quacking. And they quack for the entire storm because that's apparently their way to attract a mate. I do not understand how quacking during a thunderstorm is a good thing. But I'm not a tree frog, so we'll just let it go. So I'm sorry about the lighting again because it's thunderstorming, was thunderstorming then, and it is now. The other thing about these frogs, which is really weird, is that they love the water. They love to raise their little kids in the water, and sometimes I find them in my pool, and I help them out and put them into the woods. So anyway, here are the blender brushes. I digress. These things are yummy. I could have put my makeup on with them. I love a good brush, a good makeup brush, a good watercolor brush, and I love these blender brushes. Because of my tremor, I have always struggled with the sponge or foam applicators that Ranger has. I've used them. I have them both, the round and the square. And typically, they just make... I really have a hard time with them because if my hand suddenly gives a jerk, then my blending is all screwed up. So I'm holding the brush here, and then I'm just wiping it off onto the cloth just to get a little bit of the ink off. But this made a huge difference. I'm holding it the way I am instead of back on the back handle of the brush because that was what was working best for me. I was afraid that if I held it too far back, if I did, my hand jerked in the wrong direction, it might not work. But this really did give me the smoothest blend. So right now I'm just brushing it off on my pad because I didn't go from light to dark like I usually do. And but after I was done with this inking session, I did wash off the brushes and with just a little bit of water, and they look perfect afterwards. And let them air dry. So these are wonderful. And in fact, one of the My Sweet Petunia design team girls just got herself a second package of them, and I think I'm going to be doing the same thing just because they are that good. And then I'm just going to wipe off a little bit of the extra color. I know some people are really don't care about mixing their colors, and I guess I shouldn't be either. But anyway, I was just trying them out, so it was fun to see that all worked to get the ink off of them and make this next blend better. So I switched up to think using Mermaid Lagoon or Salty Oceans. I can't remember which one it is, just to give a little more gradient in there. And they really are wonderful, these brushes. I'm going to use my Perfect Pearl spray, and I just have a little tiny bit and a little mister, and to give it a little shine, and also to get a little bit of that ghosting effect that you get when the water sits on top of the inks. I have a minor in chemistry, so calling this oxidation when I don't really know the chemical structure is a little hard for me to say, so I'm just going to call it ghosting. And yep, here comes the thunder. So the quacking frog should not be quite far behind. So I just stamped her in my mini MISTI with Memento Tuxedo Black, because that's a Copic friendly ink. I'm going to be using Copics, and I'm going to be, my main colors, I want to pick up the turquoise that's in the background and some pink on her shirt. So I'm going to start with her hair. I've been coloring flowers now for like 3 or 4 weeks, and when I realized that I just didn't have the muscle memory, if you will, for coloring this hair right now, I should have stopped and I should have practiced. So I think next time if I haven't colored flowers, say in a while, off camera or whatever, I'll just color a flower for fun with either my Copics, a watercolor, or a pencil. It doesn't matter, until I remember how to do it, because I don't know why, I just have a hard time changing between coloring 2 different types of objects. Not really sure why. I mean, other people can go seamlessly between them, but it doesn't matter. And I like to be really careful with hair so that I keep some of the highlights, and I just didn't manage to do it here. And again, like I said, I think sometimes we need to take a break when we're crafting and doodle or practice. I don't know, whatever, be like a 2-year-old who doesn't care. I love my granddaughter's enthusiasm about her coloring and her telling me all about it. So, and I've said this before in my videos, I just think sometimes we need to give ourselves some space to practice and to let go and not expect to have it go right the very first time, which is basically what I'm doing here. So anyway, here's her skin, E00, and I think, no, E000. Now, I wanted her to be tan, so I'm using E04 as my shadow color. But then it dawned on me, my mermaid is going to be at the bottom of the ocean, or that's where I have her in my head. If mermaids spend a lot of time down in the ocean, then they can't be tan because they're not exposed to sunlight, right? So I could have left her pale, but anyhow, I wanted her to be tan. So here she is. She's tan. I could have made her any color. She could be a rainbow colored mermaid. You could do African American skin tone, but I was thinking of giving this card to my little granddaughter, and so this is the skin tone. Plus, I was hoping the sun would come out. So I put some R20 on the cheeks, and then I'm going back in and blending all of that out. And then I'm adding some more E11 back. I think that maybe if I lightened up the hair a little bit, I don't know. So off camera, what I did later on with her was I added some eyelashes with a Copic multi-liner, and I put some little white gel pen dots on her cheeks to give her a little sparkle. So I'm doing kind of an ombre effect here with the BGs, and I don't remember which ones they are. Well, I know which ones they are. It's BG 45, 49, 18, and I think 53. And then I decided, well, it would be kind of cool if she had sort of instead of blending it, if it was more ombre. So I didn't really blend it. I just put the color down and did a smidgy bit of blending and left it be because, I don't know, I guess I thought it would look cool. So I'm going to color her with the RV02, RV04, and RV06 is the other color. And naturally, they don't want to blend. So I'm not sure why I picked this trio, but I did. It was the frogs quacking. I'll blame them. So for the rocks, I'm going to use the W's, the warm grays, because I think rocks are more gray than brown. Maybe I'm wrong, but I was looking outside and I thought, I see more gray there than I do brown. So, and there's brown in the warm grays, so I just went with that. So I'm just trying to get into the shading area. I think I started with W7, then W5, and then W3. Oops, excuse the thunder. And hopefully my power will stay on. And I almost did a BG right there. Goodness. So I'm going to use some stippling to define these rocks, and I made this card before Kelly Latavola's video came out the other day. So probably everybody knows about stippling. But anyway, it's just a great, easy way to add some dimension to your project. It's not showing up very well here, but on the card in person, you can see it. And I just had fun doing it. I like sort of the mindlessness. It's not really mindless, but just putting the dots, in there and making it look somewhat real, but still sort of having that cartoonish look to it as well. So I still haven't colored her shell because I'm going back and forth in my head trying to decide what color to color the shell. And so I'm going to color the sand with the R3s. I think it's 3335, E335, E35, and E37. And I'm going to use that same stippling technique to put some texture into the sand. And I should have given her a better drop shadow here, but I didn't. And again, I blame the frogs because they were quacking. And that's disturbing. It's disturbing because when you come from the northeast and you move down to the southeast and you hear this quacking, I ran to the window. I said, oh my gosh, wow, we have ducks, to my husband, only to find out it was a frog. So anyway, it's just disturbing. So her seashell, I was going to do a creamy, pale color, violety color, but I just couldn't make it work. So we're just going to do V01, V04, and V06. And this is when I realized she is supposed to be, another point at which it came to my mind anyway, she's supposed to be on the land, and I'm going to have her down deep in the sea. And she's blowing into her conch shell, which make a noise, like in the Moana movies. So I've decided to myself that maybe even in the ocean, mermaids will still make noises with the conch shell to call their friends, but it just won't sound like the usual conch noise because it's underwater. Because after all, whales make noises, and I'm assuming we can't hear them, but other animals make noises. Anyway, I'm going to fussy cut her out, and we'll spare you from that. And then here's my background. My paper got warped, and in hindsight, I should have used some Bristol. But anyway, foam tape solves everything. And then I've trimmed it a little bit so that it's 4 by 5 1/4. Excuse the thunder. And then I'm just trying to see where I'm going to place her. And then for the sentiment, I actually wanted to make this a fun thank you card. So I pulled this "You Shouldn't Have" sentiment from W+9 out, and I will link to that in the box below because I just can't get my hands right now on that stamp set. You should see my craft room. Yeah. And my first set of children arrive Friday. And I am so hoping that none of the girls want to use my craft room, because sometimes they do, because it's a disaster in here. And if somebody else comes in here with all this stuff all over the place, that's going to get more lost than usual. Anyhow, so I'm going to pop her up with some foam tape as well. And I added a piece of vellum over the background, and I'm using some Novo Deluxe adhesive. This has become my liquid adhesive of choice unless I want something to be sticky after it dries, so then I use Tombow. But this glue comes out really well out of the applicator tip, and it doesn't get clogged. I do have matte medium in a fine line bottle. I think it's a 16 gauge needle. But I'm really liking this adhesive. It's right there. So I actually keep 2 bottles of it because I just like it that much. I haven't tried the Nugina K. Has that like a pen? I think it's called Connect or something like that. Not sure. Anyway, so I'm using the Novo. I'm just going to trim off her edges here. And then we'll be done almost with the card. I just want to add something to make it look like she's blowing bubbles out of her conch shell. So I got some of the Pretty Pink Posh clear droplets. I think it's the 6mm and 4mm size. And I have 2 sets of them in my little sequin containers. But I wanted it to look like the bubbles were coming out of the conch shell. But then I decided I didn't like her shirt. So I'm just adding some stripes to her shirt because it's kind of a sailorish effect, if that's a word. Anyhow, so off camera, I added eyelashes to her eyes with a Copic multi-liner, I think in the 0.03. It might have been 0.05. Anyway, I'm going to give her some Wink of Stella and cover up the shell as well. And then I want to add some more blush to her. And off camera, I didn't capture it. I actually put 3 little dots on each of her cheeks to make them look like they were sparkling. And then just blending it out a little bit. So I want to color this little image again because I think she could be a lot cuter than the way I did it. So I find this glue, again, very easy to use. I can just put things right back down in it and they stay. So and then I'm going to take the Novo Crystal Glaze and just cover everything up, her tail and the shell with that because I want that to sparkle and her little scrunchie in her hair to sparkle as well. One thing I would have done, so I usually do to sand, except that I had a sentiment there, is I usually rub the Distress Stickles that's in Vintage Photo. Matches really well with the E3s, and it kind of gives the sand a sparkly, textured look. But because I had the sentiment there, I didn't want to do that. So here's the card, and here's a picture of the brushes once again. I will be back with a review on the brushes. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and thank you for being here. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll get that review video to you soon because these brushes really are fantastic. And thank you for being